Good morning, sir. Sir,
Uh,
shall we start, sir?
Good morning, Pa. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we shall start.
Okay, sir. Hirosha, over to you.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible, Hirosha. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning to all the esteemed professors, research scholars, and the students from the Department of Commerce, University of Madras. Thank you for attending this webinar despite your busy schedules. It's a pleasure for me to welcome Dr. Cesis Dasta to give us an expert talk on research renaissance, exploring new frontiers in methodology. I would also like to express my gratitude to our head of the department, Dr. R. Shanti ma'am, and the former principal of Chellamal Women's College, Dr. V. Kalaivani ma'am, for organizing and coordinating today's session. Special thanks to research scholars Mr. Sam and Mrs. Nitya for setting up this meeting. I'm delighted to the introduction. I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Dalston, an associate professor at the PG and Research Department of the Commerce at Presidency College, Chennai. With a teaching career spanning over 29 years, Dr. Dalston has achieved notable accolades, including a gold medal in MCOM from St. Joseph's College, Trichy, and a national ranking in CWA. He was also recognized as an excellent speaker during the ICSI SMTP training and has authored work on financial management that is housed in the Parliament Library. Dr. Dalston's expertise extends to various academic and governmental panels such as SCERT, TRP, TNPSC, TNSCHE, and he plays a significant role in syllabus and development and modification for the Tamil Nadu government. He has authored about 7 books and 15 research papers in areas including principles of accounting, business accounting, and financial and management accounting, and so on. Furthermore, Dr. Dalston is frequently sought after as a speaker at numerous educational events. Thank you, Dr. Dalston, for joining us today to share your expertise knowledge on research methodology. I would like to say, you can mute yourself so that you don't interpret the flow. Now, I invite Dr. Shantiman, the head of the department, to speak a few words.
Hirosha, invite sir. Invite sir. Sir, that's it. Ma'am is not there, it seems.
Yeah, okay, fine, sir. Sir, now we can start, sir.
Okay.
Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Is the screen visible, Pa?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So today the lecture will be on the basics of research, that is the research process and variables. So what is your research? It is an analysis in a systematic and objective manner that may lead to search for knowledge. So when we say search for knowledge, say for example, I would like to know how farm accounting is done. In other words, how cost of an agricultural produce is computed. Then I can do a research, okay, in order to enhance my knowledge to find out how the cost is computed for a particular produce. Secondly, it may be to verify the existing facts and theories. In commerce and management, we have several theories, such as Maslow's theory is there, theory X and theory Y are there, and then for labor turnover we have theories. For bonus plans we have Halsey and Rowan. Like that, there are so many theories, and existing facts are there. If we want to verify those theories and facts, we can go for a research. The third one is to find out new facts or new theories. Say, for example, you want to contribute towards theory on labor turnover. Then we can do some research. Based on that, we can frame our own theory and new facts we can give. Finally, there is an immediate problem for which a solution is required. Say, for example, in a factory, often strikes occur. We want to give solution to that particular problem. Why that strike occurs? Okay, how can it be curtailed? Okay, then we can go for a research. So these are some of the purposes for which the research is being carried out. So the next thing is the phases of research, the research process, or steps in doing a research. The first step is problem identification, followed by review of related literature that is related to our problem. We have to collect the literature. Then, formulating the objectives and hypothesis, then identification of the variables. Then, point number 5 is research design, deciding about the method and technique of data collection, then collecting the data, then analysis and interpretation, finally report preparation and submission or publication. We will discuss one by one. So the first one is research problem. How do we come to know that there is a research problem? See, there are several researches might have taken place, but the results of the several inquiries or researchers may disagree. So some contradiction between one research result and another one. So if that is the case, then we can understand that there is a research problem, which we can take it as a research study. Secondly, there are so many researchers. The results of the investigation show that there is a noticeable gap, and therefore we can try for a research in that particular topic. The third one is already researches have taken place. We want to apply in different cultural or social environments. And finally, desire for innovation. Okay, you want to be innovative, so you want to take up a topic and you want to contribute. Say, for example, funds flow statement and cash flow statement. Cash flow statement generally, previously it was in a conventional form, but later on AS3 gave us how it has to be prepared by classifying the cash flows into cash flow from operating activities, cash flow from investing activities, and cash flows from financing activities, like that. So it showed some innovation in presenting the report. Like that, desire for innovation may lead to choosing a research problem. Then what is the criteria for a research problem? The first and foremost is it must be original. Okay, so that is very important. Secondly, neither very general nor very specific. If it is very general, then conclusion becomes very different. Conclusion becomes very difficult. And if it is very specific, then generalization is not possible. One of the features of research is that generalization. Okay, so that may not be possible when the research topic is very specific. Then important thing is solvable. That problem, what we take up for our research, we must be able to give some solution. Okay, if you are unable to give solution for a research problem, then there is no point in doing the research, because the very important thing of a research is giving solution to a problem. And the fourth one is feasible. It must be feasible. The topic must be feasible in the sense, in terms of time. Say, for example, when we do a research for a degree purpose, for qualification purpose, then of course there is a time limit. When we talk about MCOM project work or PG project work, maybe we can spend 3 months. If it is a PhD research work, 3 years to 6 years we can spend. Okay, so that time limit plays a crucial role. Therefore, the topic that we choose must be completed within that time limit. Say, for example, for a PG project, you cannot take a topic which will go in for 2-3 years. Then you cannot complete your degree. Similarly, for PhD degree also, we must be able to complete within a minimum period of 3 years. Okay, so that we can complete the degree on time. And then the cost. For every work, we go for some budget. For research work also, we go for some budget. So within that amount, within that budgeted amount, you must be able to do the research. Therefore, the research topic must be chosen in such a way that you are able to complete it within the budgeted amount. And the last important thing is data availability. Sometimes we may choose a topic which is very innovative, creative, but you may not be able to collect the data. Say, for example, you have chosen a company. The company may not, give you the data that you require. If that is the case, then you cannot complete your degree. So data availability is very, very important. Okay, based on that only we have to choose a research problem. So these are some of the criteria for a research problem. Then sources of the research problem. Sometimes our own experience may suggest some topic. Say, for example, every day you are going by a bus. Okay, so you are seeing how it is overcrowded and a lot of traffic problem. Okay, so you are facing a lot of challenges in traveling. Then that may give you some idea in choosing the research topic. Sometimes the others may share their experience with us. Okay, say for example, facing water problem in their area. They may say, like these, we face problems. That may sometimes help us to choose the research topic. Then you can very well go through the previous research reports, thesis and other research works, especially in PhD thesis. In suggestions, they will give scope for further research or suggestions for further research. They will give you certain topics which you can, take it up and do. Then working papers, ongoing research works, government reports, central government, state government, okay, all the, the reports published by the governments, the reports published by institutions. Say, for example, World Health Organization, World Bank, okay, like, all these institutions may, give certain reports. Based on that, we can choose our topic. You can go through the journals, magazines, newspapers, sometimes from websites. Okay, so you may get some research topic. Okay, so there are several sources regarding the research problem. Okay, so any one of the sources may inspire you to take up research work. Then the second step is, after choosing a research problem, we have to collect literature. First, you have to choose the research problem in a broader way. Later on, based on the reviews and other things, you can choose a specific topic. So you have to collect literature relating to your study. Say, for example, when I was thinking of doing a research PhD, I was thinking of 3-4 topics. Then I finally chose one particular topic. So I took tobacco industry. Okay, so as a broader topic. So the broader topic I chose was the tobacco industry. Then later on, after collecting the literature and other things, I went for a specific topic. I'll tell you a little later. So we had to collect literature related to our study. So literature, when we say, theories, principles, concepts, previous research works, information published by the government, information published by the institutions, all these, give us the literature related to our study. Say some 20 years back, it was very difficult to collect literature because we had to visit several libraries. One who visits several libraries gets more data. That was the situation. But that is not the case today. Now we can collect literature very easily. Say, for example, when I was thinking of, as I already told you, I chose the tobacco industry as a broader topic. And to collect the literature, I came from Karur to Chennai. Okay, I visited ICMR, Cancer Research Institute. Okay, so from there only I could collect some materials. Later on, nearby Dindigul, there is a place called Verachandur, in which there, we have a Tobacco Research Institute. Then in Shastri Bhavan, Chennai, we have a Directorate of Tobacco Development. So in all these institutions and several universities, libraries, Madras University, Anna University, Bharidasan University, Trichy, like that, I visited several libraries and collected data, but I found it very difficult to collect the data. But that is not the case today. Suppose if you want to, collect literature, lot of things are available in websites. Say, for example, tobacco.org. So there is a website called tobacco.org. So I just click this. This website contains all details, most of the details relating to tobacco. So I can click topic. Okay, so whatever the topic that you want, you can take it. Okay, so ethical issues are there, households, lot of statistics are also there. Okay, regarding smoking, regarding tobacco usage. Okay, all this. So it is very easy today to collect the data. Say, for example, if I click households, okay, so a lot of articles are there. You can choose the country also. Okay, so it is possible that you can choose the country. Say if we put India, one article is there related to India. So this is with regard to World Asthma Day 2024. Okay, so we can, from this we can take whatever the data that we require. So a lot of articles are available here. Okay. So this is with regard to related literature. When we collect the literature, what is important is the source, because we have to give it by way of footnote and endnote or by way of references, and therefore we have to be very careful with regard to the source. If it is a book, yeah, I'll tell you the sources and then I'll come back. Yes, sources from where the literature can be taken: books, journals, magazines, newspapers, research reports, government reports, institutional reports, and websites. Now, if it is a book, we need information regarding the title of the book, author, and then the page number, publisher, year of publishing. All these are required because it has to be given by way of a reference. In fact, giving reference, we have to follow some format. APA format is there, American Psychological Association, Modern Literary Association, MLA format is there. So we have to adopt any one of the formats, while giving the references. So that information is required, that we have to be very cautious while collecting the review of related literature. So we are collecting the literature related to our study. Say, for example, for my study related to tobacco industry, then later on I went for a specific topic, an inquiry into the behavior of consumers of cigarettes in Karur town, Tamil Nadu. So about cigarette smokers only, consumption pattern, consumer behavior of cigarette smokers, I did it. So literature related to tobacco, related to cigarette industry, related to consumer behavior, I took it from various sources. Then after collecting the literature and after going through the literature, what we have to do is we have to frame the objectives and we have to formulate hypotheses. Objectives of the study, they define and confine the scope of the study. So objectives give the direction. Okay, so it gives the direction of the research, and also it defines as well as confines. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. That will be defined by objectives. Similarly, beyond which we will not go, that will also be specified by the objectives of the study. Then the title of the study must be framed in accordance with the objectives. The specific title that we go for must be framed in accordance with the objectives of the study. And regarding the number of objectives, limited number of objectives are enough, say 5 or 6, not too many that we should have in a research work. So this is with regard to objectives of the study. Then hypothesis. Hypothesis is a tentative solution or explanation, the validity of which is to be tested through some statistical tools. Hypothesis also gives some directions to the research. Okay, so it is a tentative statement. Okay, So the sources of hypothesis, existing theory may sometimes suggest us the hypothesis or previous research report or one's own belief, especially the researcher, then the beliefs of others may tell us some hypothesis. But once a hypothesis is formulated, then it has to be tested using some statistical tools. Now, when we say hypothesis, broadly we classify it into two categories, null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis is a hypothesis of no difference. It says all are equal. Say, for example, there is no significant association between level of income and level of expenses. So there is no significant relationship, in other words, between income and expenses. When we say this, it is null hypothesis. So it says that there is no difference, all are equal. Alternative hypothesis, it is the operational statement of the researchers. What the researchers perceive, what is their perception regarding a particular thing, that is what we mean by alternative hypothesis. So it will say there is a significant difference between income and expenses. So it may say there is a significant association between level of income and level of expenditure, like that, we say. So that is what we mean by alternative hypothesis. As I already told you, when hypothesis is formulated, then using some statistical tools, it has to be tested. Regarding hypothesis, there are two opinions. One group feels that hypothesis is very, very important. Every research work should contain hypothesis because it gives direction to the research. Okay, and therefore compulsorily we should have hypothesis. There is another group which states that hypothesis is not at all required. They say already we have objectives of the study which defines and confines the scope of the study, and it also gives direction. That there is no need to have hypothesis. That argument is also there. But generally, in a research work, we have 3 to 5 hypotheses which we test using some statistical tools. So the next one is identification of variables. We have to identify the variables after framing the objectives of the study and after formulating hypothesis, which we will discuss in later, which we will discuss in detail little later. Then research design. After identifying the variables, we go for research design. Okay, so the method of data collection. How are we going to collect the data? Are we going to collect the data from the entire population of the study or a part of the population of the study? Based on that, we say we choose either census survey, which is otherwise called complete enumeration method, or a sample survey, or a case study. First of all, we'll discuss what is population. Population means the target group which the researcher wants to study. Say, for example, when I want to take up a study relating to, as I already told you, consumer behavior of cigarette smokers, then cigarette smokers are considered to be my population of the study. Say, for example, I'm going to collect data from Karur town. My title is that. Okay, then cigarette smokers in Karur town will be my population of the study. Cigarette smokers in Karur town will be the population of my study. Say, for example, you're going to take up a research work regarding the students pursuing higher education in Tamil Nadu. Then all the students, art students, science students, and then engineering students pursuing higher education will be the population of the study. So that is with regard to population of the study. Now, if you are going to collect data from the entire population of the study, then it is called the census survey or complete enumeration method. Say, for example, my study is regarding students pursuing MCom degree in Chennai city. Suppose there are 1,000 students who pursue MCom degree program in Chennai city, then that 1,000 students will be the population of my study. And if I collect data from the entire 1,000 students, then the method of data collection for me is census survey or complete enumeration method. So this is with regard to census survey. Now, is it possible to collect data by adopting census survey method? Practically, we may face some difficulty in collecting the data from all the respondents. Difficulty number one is data availability. Okay, so all the respondents may not be interested in providing the data. Say I said 1,000 students pursuing MCOM degree in Chennai city. 10 students refuse to give the data. They say we won't give. We cannot compel them to give the data. Then secondly, they may not be available. Say for example, students studying in Presidency College. I am visiting there. One day, one particular student is absent. Then I have to go the next day when he comes. Suppose on that day also he is absent, then I have to, collecting the data from that particular person becomes, sometimes difficult. So data may not be available from all the respondents, and therefore census survey may not be possible. That is one difficulty. The second difficulty is time involved. Lot of time is involved when collect data from the entire population of the study. So already we have seen that time is very important in doing a research work. Within the time limit we have to complete, and therefore that may not work. So time is a difficulty. And the third one is cost, the amount that we incur. When we want to collect data from the entire population of the study, then cost will also be high, especially when you go for interview technique or interview schedule technique. Okay, and therefore, so for these reasons, people prefer sample survey. What is sample survey? It is a small proportion of your population selected for observation and analysis. We don't collect the data from the entire population, but from part of the population which represents the population. That is very important, which represents the population. So we collect data from them and then we generalize for the population based on the results that we find out. We generalize for the population of our study. So that is with regard to sample survey. Then we have case study. Case study means a single social unit. It may be a company or it may be a culture group, etc. Right? This is to check the theory or to check a model that we have developed or to solve an immediate problem. I told, say for example, in a factory, often strikes occur. Just to solve that problem, we have taken up a research. Then, we'll go for case study. We'll take up that particular factory and that problem only we will address and we will try to solve. So that is with regard to case study. In most of the research studies, sample survey is being followed. Right? Population we have already discussed. Another important thing is sampling frame. Sampling frame means physical material from which samples are chosen. List of the population, in other words, list of the population is called sampling frame. Say for example, I told you 1,000 students pursuing higher education or MCOM in Chennai city. Now sampling frame, I mean, the list of the students. I need how many are pursuing MCOM degree in Presidency College. Okay, list of the students pursuing MCOM in Presidency College. List of the students pursuing MCOM in Madras, in University of Madras. Okay, like that I require. That material is called sampling frame. Sampling frame is very important to decide whether we want to go in for probability sampling or non-probability sampling method. Okay, so that we will discuss a little later. Then the third one is sample size. We have to choose the optimal size. Okay, so to choose that sample size, there are a lot of formulae available. Okay, one famous is the covariance formula. Now nowadays it is available in online also. So actually 384 or 385 is enough. Okay, maximum 385. Maximum 385. I'll show you. Say for example, in Google, you can type sample size calculator. This is called calculator.net. Now you see, the population size is 10,000, the sample size is 370. I go for the population size is 1,000, it is 278, right? So at 5% level of significance. And population proportion I have taken, generally they take 50%. Say for example, it is 5 lakhs, 384. When it is 5 lakhs, it is 384. So if the population size is 6 lakhs, 384. Okay. If it is unlimited, they say leave it blank, calculate 384. Okay. So 385 here, right? So 384, when the population size is, unlimited, 385. Otherwise, if the population size is known, the maximum size is 384. And therefore, it is not necessary that we have to go beyond 384 or 385. You can restrict yourself with regard to 384 or 385. Okay. In case of stratified random sampling only, we have to be little careful. Otherwise, we can go for, say, I take 10%. Otherwise, we can go for, 384 or 385. Based on the proportion, it changes. Generally, they take 50%. Okay, then it will be 385. So 384 or 385 is enough. Okay, but if you go for stratified random sampling or quota sampling, then you study further and decide your sample accordingly. But rule of thumb is 384 is enough. So this is with regard to sample size, optimum sample size. Now the next thing is sampling method. This is what very important in most of the VIVO's examination. The question will be on your methodology. How did you choose your sample? Why did you go for that particular sampling method? Now, when we say sampling methods, we can classify into two categories. Probability sampling, which is otherwise called random sampling, and non-probability sampling or non-random sampling methods. Now, probability sampling, in case of probability sampling, very important thing is, theoretically speaking, sampling frame. Only when you have the sampling frame, you can go for probability method. Okay, probability sampling method. Theoretically we say, but practically sometimes the statisticians say that in a different way about the probability sampling method. But generally, sampling frame is required in order to go for probability sampling method. When we say simple random sampling method, say for example, there are 100 students in a class. We have to choose 10 among them. What we can do is we can prepare a list containing all those 100 students in a chit or in a lot we can write, and through lot we can take 10 students. That is called the simple random sampling method. Now here the entire population has the chance of becoming the sample. They have the chance, of which 10 are chosen. This is called the simple random sampling method. Then another one, systematic random sampling. Here what we do, using some formula, we find out the gap, say the frequency. Okay, so tens or 5 or 10 or 20 like that, we find out the frequency. What we do, in a lot we choose, say for example, there are again 100 students, 10 have to be chosen. What we do, 1 to 10. Okay, from 1 to 10, we pick one number by lot. Say for example, 5 comes. Then what we do, we choose every nth item, 5, 15, 25, 35, like that up to 95. So that we will get the 10 samples. This is called systematic random sampling. Okay, so that 1 to 10, what we do, we pick through lot, then frequency. Suppose 4 comes, 4, 14, 24, 34, like that. Then we have stratified random sampling. Here what we think, we need representation from different groups. Say for example, we think that on the basis of gender, we would like to classify the respondents, say male and female. We need 50 students, 50 male students and 50 female students. Then what we do, we form two groups. Okay, say for example, there are 40 boys. Okay, what we do, from the 40 boys, we take by lot how many samples are required. Say for example, we require 5 samples from males, then 5 out of 40 we will choose. Then there are 60 female students, we need 5 students, then 5 out of 60 will be choosing. Okay, so this is called stratified random sampling. So that strata or group that we decide first, it may be sometimes level of income, low income, middle income, high income, like that we can classify, or it may be based on area, or it may be based on the age group. Okay, so we classify the respondents, then within that group we go for a simple random sampling. That is called the stratified random sampling method. Then multi-stage sampling or subsampling. See, actually we have to choose a household as our sample. First, what we will do is we will choose a country. Okay, so all over the world, the study is going to be done. First, you choose the country by lot. Say, for example, India comes. Then how many states are there? Okay, you need only 5 states. Then choose, through lot the states. Suppose Tamil Nadu comes there. How many districts are there? You take up the list. You need only 3 districts. You choose. Say, for example, we get Trichy district. Then what are all the villages in Trichy district? Okay, then you choose by lot a village. Okay, then in that village, say there are 100 households, you need 10 households. Then through lot you choose those 10 households. This is called multi-stage sampling or subsampling. Then we have another thing called the cluster sampling. In case of cluster sampling, what happens is we have several clusters. Clusters will be homogeneous. It will be the same. It will be like clusters will be homogeneous, whereas within the cluster the groups will be heterogeneous. So if you choose one particular cluster, it is enough. It will represent the entire population. Then sequential sampling, based on the need, we go on. Initially we'll take up a small sample, then based on the need we will go on increasing the sample size. That is called sequential sampling. Always we must remember that probability sampling is superior to non-probability sampling. So if it is possible for you to collect, if it is possible for you to go for probability sampling method, it is always good, because probability sampling method is superior to non-probability sampling method. Then non-probability. Now here the entire population does not have the opportunity of becoming the sample. Only few people are able to become the samples. In that we have one thing is called convenient sampling. In case of convenient sampling, no rule is followed. The researcher, according to his or her convenience, collects the data from the respondents. It is not a superior method. Generally we have to avoid this. Okay, just like that, if he is able to collect data from a particular person, then he will collect. That is called convenient sampling. Then we have purposive or judgment sampling. Now here the prerequisite is the researcher should know the population. He should know the population, and therefore what he or she does, since he or she knows the population, the researcher thinks that these people will represent for this particular study. So I'll choose them as the respondents of the study. That is called the purposive or judgment sampling. Say for example, a class teacher is there, a tutor is there. The college administration asks some 5 students from that particular class regarding a meeting related to sports. Suppose that the class teacher or the tutor may know about that class students, and therefore he or she may suggest 5 students who will represent that particular work, namely sports. Okay, so that is called purposive or judgment sampling, we can say. Then we have quota sampling. It is similar to stratified random sampling. It is stratified random sampling is a probability method, whereas quota sampling is a non-probability method. But otherwise, the concept remains the same. Here also we go for some groups called quota. Okay, so again, gender wise or age wise or income wise, okay, we can classify the groups, then we can choose the respondents. So this is called quota sampling. Then we have snowball sampling. Sometimes it may be very difficult, to know the sample or the population of the study. Okay, so the topic is such that you may not be knowing, the population. In that particular case, sometimes if we get 1 or 2 respondents initially, based on their references, we may choose the other respondents. That is called snowball sampling. So this is with regard to probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Always we must remember that probability sampling is superior to non-probability sampling. When you collect data just like that from the respondents, whoever it is not random sampling method, it is convenience sampling method. This is where sometimes the researchers make mistakes. Okay, so that is convenience sampling, and it cannot be considered as random sampling. Random sampling is probability sampling. Okay, so according to the convenience of the researcher, just like that, if he collects, it is called convenience sampling method. So this is very important. Okay, the probability and non-probability methods of sampling. Then after choosing the method and the sample size, then we have to collect data from them. How are we going to collect data from them? Okay, so that is called the technique of data collection. There are 4 techniques which can be used to collect the data. One is questionnaire. Okay, the second one is interview. Third one is interview schedule, and the fourth one is observations. Now, questionnaire, when we say, we prepare a list of questions and we circulate to the respondents. Very important thing is respondents fill the questionnaire. The questionnaire is filled up by the respondents. Okay, so then it is called the questionnaire technique. Nowadays, using Google Forms also you can collect data. It's very easy. Okay, when you collect the data through Google Forms, what happens is, for you, the data recorded in Excel format. So data entry work is easier, that is minimized. That work you need not carry on when you send it through Google Form. Okay, so that is the advantage of questionnaire. But one important limitation in case of questionnaire is illiterate people cannot be covered through this technique. Only literate people can be covered. Okay, and then another limitation is sometimes if they don't understand the question, there is no possibility for the researcher to explain about that particular question. But advantages are, this lesser time. Okay, time involved is very less. You can cover a wider area. Cost can be minimized. Okay, so a lot of advantages are there and widely followed also. Then we have interview technique. Face-to-face interview technique is possible through Gmeet, possible through telephone. It is possible nowadays. Okay, so the researcher will be the interviewer mainly, and the respondent is the interviewee. So the researcher collects data and records in some form. Okay, so using audio devices, using video devices, or writing. Okay, like that, he can or she can record the data. That is called interview technique. Now the cost involved is high. It will take more time also, but at the same time, illiterate people can be covered through interview technique. And for certain topics, okay, for which you need accurate data, sometimes we have to go in for interview only. Okay, especially topics of technical nature, wherein you have to explain to the respondents. Interview technique is good. Another advantage of interview technique is, while collecting the data, you can know the identity of the respondent. In case of questionnaire, you may not be knowing. So you may think that you could have sent a questionnaire to X. Suppose it is filled by Y, you do not know. you will be thinking of it is done by X. But in case of interview technique, the personal identity of the respondent is known. Secondly, you can observe also whether he provides accurate data or not. That can be observed by us. That is another advantage that we have when we go for interview technique. In case of interview schedule, already the questionnaire is there. That is being filled in by the interviewer or enumerators. That is called the interview schedule. Trained people are called enumerators. They can carry out the work on behalf of the researcher. So here the questions, the responses are filled in by the interviewer or enumerator. That is interview schedule. Okay, so which is a combination of questionnaire and interview, and then observation. In certain cases, especially psychological studies, they go for observation. They will not circulate any questionnaire or they won't do any interview. Just by observing the people, okay, they can collect the data. That is possible. Okay, so there are certain types: participant observation, non-participant observation, that you can go through a little later. Okay, so which is better? It depends on your study. Which technique is better? That depends on your study. The researcher has to decide whether to go in for a questionnaire or interview schedule. Sometimes it can be a combination also. Okay, observation along with the questionnaire also sometimes possible like that. Then we have to collect the data. Okay, after collecting the data have to be analyzed and interpreted. Okay, so while analyzing the data, okay, collecting the data, we go for even at the time of preparing the questionnaire, the coding can be done. Okay, so otherwise, after collecting the data, also coding can be done. Code is an abbreviation. It may be a number or alphabet or combination. For example, gender, for gender, M for male, F for female, like that we can give, or 1 for male, 2 for female, like that we can give. 5 for strongly agree, 4 for agree, like that we can give. Okay, so that coding has to be done. It is good that if it is in numeric format, because while using statistical packages such as SPSS, when it is in numeric form, it is easier for us. So it is better to give the coding in numbers. So we are giving coding, data are collected. Now what we have to do is we have to type the data in Excel sheet. Always Excel sheet is good. Okay, so that will lot of advantages we have when it is typed in Excel sheet, or MS Access can also be used. Later on it can be converted into Excel sheet. Then we have to edit the data. We have to find out, sometimes editing may be required. We have to find out whether are there any errors. If there are errors or inconsistency in the data, they have to be edited. While typing itself, you can give the minimum value and maximum value, so that data, while entering the data itself, we can verify that we enter the proper data. Okay, so that advantage is available when we do it in Excel sheet. By formatting the cells, we can give the minimum and maximum value so that it cannot go beyond that. Okay, or it cannot come down. Okay, so that is also possible. Then data have to be classified, arranged in some homogeneous groups. That is a thing for which we require tables. Okay, by preparing the tables, right, the data can be classified. Wherever required, you can use diagrams. Similarly, wherever required to support your write-up, we can use statistical tools also. Okay, so that is being done in case of data analysis, and we interpret the results. Okay, in case of statistical tools, we have to follow certain rules, right? In case of statistical tools, we have to follow some rules to interpret. Okay, some standard reporting rules are there which we have to follow in a research report. Then finally preparing the report. Okay, so you could have gone through some reports. It will have some preliminary pages: title page, certificate by the supervisor, declaration, acknowledgement, contents, and then tables, list of figures, all these. Then main text, introduction, review of literature, theoretical background of the study, analysis and interpretation, findings, suggestions, and conclusion. Then finally, we may have, bibliography, references, that comes under bibliography only. Then appendices, Okay, you can include your questionnaire, some statistical tools which you have applied, you can give it, or some formats which you have used, you can give it here. Okay, so it comes and in the end matter. Okay, so this is with regard to report preparation. In fact, here also we have to follow certain rules and regulations. Mechanics of report writing is there. What should be your paper size? What is the font size? Okay, for these we have certain rules, page numbering, then regarding references, APA format or MLA format. So like that, we have to follow certain rules and regulations regarding report preparation. So this is the thing. After preparing the report, we are going to submit it. Okay, in case of if the research work is done for some qualification purpose, or it will be published. Okay, right. So this is the process of a research. We will move on to variable. So we have 10 more minutes. I'll complete it within that time period. Now, variable. What is meant by variable? That's the first question. So it is the characteristic of the respondent or situation for a given study that have different values in that study. Okay, so characteristics of the respondents, or it may be the characteristic of the situation in a given study. But very important thing is it must have different values. Okay, that is, it must be able to vary. Okay, so two or more values should be there. Two or more values should be there. Only then it is called variable. Okay, say for example, gender. We may say male, female, and transgender, three values. Then it is called the variable. Age, we may have different values, 20, 30, 40, like that. Opinion, we may have agree, disagree, like that. Okay, so then we will say it is called a variable, right? If a concept has only one value in a study, it is not a variable, it is constant. Okay, so that will not be studied by raising questions. For example, we are going to study about women. The study is about women. There we need not raise a question, what is your gender? Because we are going to circulate the questionnaire or schedule only to the women. Okay, now the gender is not required. Okay, because it is constant, right? So only when it has two or more values, it is called variable. Okay, now the variable can be classified into three categories. One is called the scale, second one is called ordinal, and third one is called nominal. Okay, scale, ordinal, nominal. Okay, I'll come here in this word. Yeah. Okay. So in case of, as I already told you, my study is about an inquiry into the behavior of consumers of cigarettes in Karur town, Tamil Nadu. Now, variable when I say here, age, family income, gender, area, education, occupation, socioeconomic profile, and then consumption pattern, factors influencing to start and continue cigarette smoking. There are several factors. They will have, when it has more than one value, two or more values, then it is called the variable. In case of finance, say for example, cost of windmill, profit, various expenses, they will be considered as variable only. Say for example, in HRM, we pursue a study on absenteeism, health issues, mode of transportation, family commitment, nature of work, they will be considered as variable. So the variable, as I already told you, it has different values. Okay, so more than one value should be there. If there is only one value, it is called a constant. Okay, right. Now, when we move on to type of variables, we will come to that one later, nominal ordinal scale. Quantitative versus qualitative. Quantitative variable, when we say numerical variable, mostly it will be scale in nature. Say for example, age, height, weight, income, expenses, cost, price, all these are considered as quantitative variables. Qualitative variables are variables which are non-numerical. They are called as categorical. See, it has value which differs in kind. For example, opinion, strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree, like that. Or it may be satisfaction, highly satisfied, satisfied, neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, dissatisfied, highly dissatisfied, like that, the values may be. So opinion, level of satisfaction, problems faced, these are all called qualitative variable, which are non-numerical in nature, right? Moving on to scale. On the basis of scale, how do we classify? I told you nominal, ordinal, scale. In scale, we have two classification, interval and ratio. Okay, the first thing is, before moving on to nominal, ordinal or scale, we should know what is meant by the properties of measurement. There are 4 properties which we should know. Based on that only we classify the variable. Property number 1, identity. Each value on the measurement has a unique meaning. If each value on the measurement has a unique meaning, then we say it satisfies the property of identity. For example, roll number 1, 2, 3, it has unique meaning. Age 21, 22, 23, 21 is different from 22. So it has unique meaning. Color, blue, white, yellow, it varies from one another. Then it satisfies the property of identity. Second thing is magnitude. Values on the measurement have an ordered relationship to one another. That is, some values are larger and some are smaller. Say, for example, comparing very good and good. There are 2 values, very good and good. It satisfies the property of magnitude because you can order. Very good is, superior to good. Okay, so that satisfies the property of magnitude. Similarly, highly satisfied, satisfied. Of course, it satisfies the property of magnitude. 5 and 6. Yes, it satisfies the property of magnitude. Then we have equal intervals. That is, units along or equal to one another. Say, for example, the difference between 2 and 1. The difference between 10 and 9. If it is similar, then we say it satisfies the property of equal interval. Say, for example, very good and good, bad and very bad. There is a difference, but you cannot say that it has equal intervals. So, very good, good, neutral, then bad and very bad does not satisfy the property of equal interval. Whereas age 20, 25, 30, 40, that satisfies equal interval, the property of equal interval. Then a minimum value of 0. If it has a true 0 point below which no values exist. Say, for example, age cannot go in negative, weight cannot go in negative. Okay, so in that case, that satisfies the minimum value of 0. Whereas temperature can go in negative. That means that does not satisfy the property of, minimum value of 0. Right. Now we'll come back. This one, nominal. When a variable satisfies the first part, identity alone, it is called nominal. So naturally, it will be non-numerical. Okay. So it satisfies only one property, identity. It does not satisfy all the other 3. In, say, for example, 3 and 4, if it does not satisfy 3 and 4, naturally it should be non-numerical only. Only numerical will satisfy equal intervals and a minimum value of 0. So non-numerical satisfies the first property, namely identity. Then we say it is called nominal. That means this cannot be compared. Say, for example, gender, male and female, both are equal. Okay, so you cannot say male or superior to female or female or superior to male. Then gender is a nominal variable. It has 2 values or 3 values as the case may be. Okay, unique meaning is there, but it cannot be compared. Then it is called, nominal. Suppose your study is such that you are giving importance to women or men. then it may be ordinal. Okay, it may be considered as ordinal because it may be ranked women or superior, like that. If you are able to rank, then it will be called as ordinal. But generally, gender, religion, they're all called as nominal variables because they cannot be compared with one another. Similarly, roll number 1, 2, 3, nothing can be, you cannot, nothing can be inferred from that. 1 is as equal as 2. Roll number 2 is as equal as 3, roll number 3. If that is the case, then we will say that it is a nominal variable. Ordinal, when it satisfies the first 2 properties. Identity is there. Say, for example, low income, middle income, high income. Low income is different from middle income. Middle income is different from high income. Therefore, it satisfies the property of identity. Then, compared to low income, middle income is, better. Compared to middle income, high income is better. You are able to rank or order. That, aspect is being satisfied. Then it is called ordinal. So, level of income, level of expenses, age group, all these are considered as ordinal. Okay, so similarly, strongly agree, neutral disagree, strongly disagree, that is considered as opinion. Okay, satisfaction, all these are considered as ordinal because you are able to rank. Then we have scale data. When we say scale data, it must be numerical. So it must satisfy identity, it must satisfy magnitude, and there must be equal interval. So the difference between 9 and 10 will be equal to the difference between 5 and 4. But the thing is, there is no minimum value 0. Then it is called interval. Say, for example, temperature. It can go in negative. So all the 3 properties are satisfied, but not the 4. Then it is called the, interval. In case of ratio, all 4 are satisfied. First, there is an identity. For example, in case of age, 40, 50, 60. Magnitude is there. Okay, so you can order. Equal intervals are there. There is a minimum value 0 also. Therefore, it is considered as ratio. But in case of statistical tools, especially when you use SPSS, there is no difference between interval scale and ratio scale. Both are considered as scale. Therefore, you must be able to classify it into nominal, ordinal, and then scale. What is the necessity? Why should we classify into nominal, ordinal, scale? Because based on this only, statistical tools have to be applied. Say, for example, in case of univariate analysis, in case of scale, mean, median, mode, standard deviation, correlation, regression, all these statistical tools can be applied for scale data. For ordinal, we have to use chi-square, Kendall-Stau, Friedman's test, like that. For nominal, chi-square and lambda can be used. So like that, statistical tools, what we have to use depend on the type of the variable. If it is not in variable, you cannot use Cole-Pearson's coefficient of correlation or regression. That is not possible. Okay, only for scale data we can use. Okay, and therefore, wherever possible, you have to go for scale data. Say, for example, you don't go for, questions like, what is your age? Leave it as open-ended. Let the respondents fill the age. Similarly, what is your income? What is your expenditure? What is your height? What is your weight? All these, we can give it as open-ended because you are getting scale data. Scale data are always superior to, ordinal. Scale data are superior. So collect scale data. Then you can group it. Okay, whatever form you want, you can group it. Say, for example, there are 2 advantages in scale data. Number 1, you can find out the average, the mean. Say, for example, if you collect data, scale data, okay, then average income of the respondents you can find out. Suppose you have grouped them, low, middle, high, okay, say up to 5 lakhs, low, like that you have given, then they will say low, they will take low, middle, or high. You might have given the values 3 to 1, then you cannot find out what is the average. It will be between 1 and 3, which is, misleading, irrelevant. Instead, if you collect original data, then you can go for average. Computing the average is possible. That is Point number one. Number two, say for example, PhD research, you are collecting the data. You have taken low income as below 20,000 per month, based on the latest calculations done. By the time you finish your data collection of data, government might have changed the levels. Minimum level, they may say below 15,000 will be considered as low income. What will happen? You'll be in trouble. You cannot, you have to collect the data again, right? It is very difficult for you. You meeting the respondents again and collecting the data. Instead, if you had collected data, in the open-ended form, whatever be the form in which you have to group, you can group. With the help of SPSS, very quickly it can be done. Okay, therefore, always going for scale data because it is superior to ordinal and nominal data. Okay, so based on that, it says it varies. Two more minutes. Then second one is, this also you should know, independent variable versus dependent variable. Because when you want to use regression, tools like regression, you should know what is independent variable and what is dependent variable. Independent variable does not depend on other variable. It may changes in other variable. For example, age, education, all these can be considered as independent variable. Okay, there are certain independent variables which cannot be manipulated by the researcher. For example, gender, age. There are certain other variables, independent variables, which can be manipulated by the researcher for research purpose. For example, new teaching method. Okay, so it is an independent which can be manipulated by the researcher, and he can see the output. Okay, on the dependent variable. Say, for example, free periods or holidays, number of holidays may be independent variable that can be manipulated. He can change, the researcher can change and find what is the outcome. Dependent variable, it depends on the independent variable. Based on the independent variable, it changes. The outcome of the dependent variable changes. Therefore, it is called dependent variable. For example, opinion, satisfaction, profit. Say, for example, profit depends on the sales. Now here sales is the independent variable and profit is the dependent variable. Now when we say independent dependent, it is a relative term only in certain cases. Say for example, I consider qualification and designation. Based on my qualification, designation is given. Say for example, one who has completed CS can become a company secretary. Therefore, qualification is the independent variable and designation is the dependent variable. Who can become a cost accountant? One who has completed CMA. Okay. When you compare designation and salary, based on the designation, your salary varies. Say, for example, for a cost accountant, the salary is 60,000 per month. Okay. For a college teacher, it is 60,000, 70,000 per month. For a school teacher, 30,000 or 40,000 per month. For an accountant, 20,000 per month. Like that, when we say here, designation becomes independent variable and salary becomes dependent variable. When you compare salary and family income, salary is an independent variable, family income is dependent variable. Based on the salaries of the individual family members, the family income, will vary. When you compare family income and family expenses, family income is independent variable, whereas family expenses, dependent variable. Therefore, it is a relative term. Okay. Then we have other variables also, moderating or interaction variable. Okay. So actually, it is also a second independent variable that is included because it will have an impact on the outcome. Say, for example, we compare length of the working week and increased productivity. Okay, independent variable, we take length of the working week. Productivity is the dependent variable. Sometimes that may be age factor, that may also influence the productivity. Younger people may work well compared to the older people when the length of the week is more. Okay, so then we will take that as moderating variable or interaction variable. Okay, like that we have certain others also. So whatever I have covered today is very, basics. Okay, now you can keep this as, the basics. Based on this, you can develop yourselves. So with that, I think I can wind up my presentation. Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to thank Dr. Shanti, head of the Department of Commerce, for giving me an opportunity to share some of my views with regard to the basics of research and variables. Thank you, ma'am.
So thank you, sir. Actually, usually the students will have more doubt about mediating and moderating variables and whether the hypothesis is necessary or not. These are the usually frequently asked questions. And the moderating a variable, you just gave a beautiful explanation. Actually, your presentation was very simple and it's for everybody to follow. Thank you for accepting our invitation, sir.
And thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Over to you, Rosha.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the Department of Commerce, I extend my warm gratitude to all the students and research scholars who attended the session and showed their interest. Special thanks to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Cesis Dasta, for sharing his valuable insights and techniques about research and methodology. Thank you, sir. As a PG student myself, I gained a lot of insights about completing a project and conducting a research efficiently. And I thank our head of the department for arranging this wonderful session. Once again, thank you for all for being a part of the session and have a pleasant day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Participants are requested to fill the feedback form, which will be posted in a minute in the chat box. Kindly wait for a minute.
Thank you.
Participants, feedback link has been shared in the chat. So kindly fill your feedback so that we can send the participant e-certificate in the upcoming week. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. And you can also follow us on the YouTube channel, which we have. I'll share that link also in this chat. Meanwhile.